Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Did I hear Ach over there? Live from Lincolnwood, it's Erev Tisha B'Av. Trying to do 2 shiurim before Chatzos. I don't know, it's one of the earliest shiurim I've ever given here in America. I mean, in Israel, I give the English shiur in the morning, but it's usually the day of. Now it's the day before, and it's in the morning. I walked here from my house. I also live in Lincolnwood. It's a beautiful place, Lamaisa. Never realized it's like a suburb. It's dark at night, no lights, quiet. People walking the streets with strollers on Shabbos. It's crazy. Like the Jews forgot there's anybody else that lives here. They just walk around. This is a beautiful neighborhood. Don't get me wrong. Lincolnwood is, nobody said anything. I'm just saying it is a very, very nice place. I lived there for a bunch of years, probably 10 years. And it's very suburban. It's right next to Chicago. It's 1 block away. It actually shares like a dividing block, but it's beautiful. So, Yishkoch for having us here. Yishkoch for coming. Erev Tisha B'Av. Just no emails. One thing only. Camp Simcha boys showing their love for the Daf and MDY. AH. Camp Simcha. Wow. These are kids that have illnesses, yeah? Shmaka boys. Okay. Rabbi say we're holding on the bottom of Daf Pei Gimel Amud Beis. Oh no, we have to do the even though it's Erev Tisha B'Av, we still have to do the sponsorships. Official edition of MDY Shas, the Masechta by Zevin Yael Shulov. Perek by Reuven Harrison with much gratitude to Reb Eli and the whole MDY team. Daf Pei Dalet Tzvi Jacobs with gratitude to Hashem Yishkoach Tzvi. The Masechta is sponsored by David Salomon, dedicated in memory of Avi Mari. How many people did he say he had in his koil that finished the koil and gave him $500? I think it was like 11. Dedicated in memory of Avi Mari, starting, by the way, if you're in Miami, go check out his Ben Azmanim koil. All you have to do is come to the shir, and you get a check. Reb Shmuel Baruch ben Reb Chaim Tzvi Doi Zechron Levracha. The Palchik Family Foundation, may our Limudat Torah during the 9 days bring us closer to you, may Geula v'Simcha. Anonymous, Hatzlacha Baruch Nis Uvegashmis, and thank you to Chief Benny. Shmuel and Avuva Schuster for continued Hatzlacha and Nachas from our children. Anonymous for complete refuah Shlema and Arichas Yom to Leah Bas Esther. Monthly sponsors Chaim and Leah Levy in honor of the MDY family. Anonymous for my birthday and as a schos for the Hatzlacha of my family Baruchni and Begashmi Mazel Tov and Amen. Ari Simon refuah Shlema Avi Meir Ben Baruch Miriam. The Tzvi's refuah Shlema to Rivka Naomi Bas Elisha Batya. The monthly MDY firefighters, the Nishmas, our unforgettable chief Chaim Gabriel Ben Ari Yoel Jacobson. Zechroinu Levracha is the Shama should have an Aliyah. Weekly sponsors, the Spanish year sponsors, a big refuah Shlema to our close friend Naftali Harris Ben Chaya Pesia, Heidi Weichner, something like that, yeah? In memory of my grandmother, Feiga Liba Bas Avram, Oleh Shalom Yortzeit on Tisha B'Av. MDY Art Month, L'Refuah Shlema, Mordechai Ben Esther, L'Refuah Hayel, Daniel Zev, Ben Hayel Esther, a boy side, here we go. So we're in a very interesting sugya. In fact, easy stuff, but today we have a lot of Agadata. 3/4 of today's daf basically is Agadata. Easier than easy. So we're holding in the middle of the sugya that you cannot, our Mishnah tells us, you don't do kisi adam, you don't cover the blood of a carbon. The only carbon that it's available for is a bird, because the other type of animal that you cover the blood is a chaya. There are no chayas in the Beis HaMikdash. You only bring a behema in the Beis HaMikdash. You don't bring a deer ever in the Beis HaMikdash. So for the bird, the Gemara goes on to explain why you can't do kisi adam. You can't add anything to the mizbeach, so you can't leave it on the mizbeach. If it's not part of the mizbeach, then it's a chatzitz of the mizbeach. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. Why don't you sprinkle it on the mizbeach, then peel it off? Interesting, just today, somebody sent me a clip of a non-religious person who says if you want to hate Charedim, you have to hate them at all times. You have to hate them at weddings, so you can't hire a rabbi to come to your wedding. You have to hate them at funerals. You have to hate them when you need somebody to scrape body parts off the street, which is what Zaka does in their only charedim. That's the clip that he said, and it reminded me of this legared, literally to scrape the blood off the knife, and that was coming from a non-religious Jew. In other words, he says, listen, if you want to hate, you have to know how to do it. You have to hate completely 100%. You can't pick and choose your hatred. Okay. Anyways, l'kavet Tisha B'Av, the sinas chinam in Klal Yisrael, unfortunately. But the Gemara says, why don't you sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach, then call the zakatim in, peel it off, put it on a pile of dirt, and cover it, and then you'll be yaitza the kisei adam. So the Gemara says, because we're not talking about korbanos, we're talking about kachi bedek habayis, which are animals that are designated for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. People donate stuff to the Beis Hamikdash. They could donate, cars for kids. They'll donate cars, planes, and animals. And when you donate an animal, it's to be sold, and the money goes to, you went ahead and you shechted it. You had no right to shecht it, and therefore, the Gemara says, and this is important for what we're about to learn now, if it's a type of shechita that doesn't allow you to eat, that Reb Shimon already holds, and we had a few times already in the last few daf that Reb Shimon holds, if you can't eat after that shechita, it's not a good shechita. It's not a shechita that needs kisei adam. Yeah? You have an animal that's owned by the Beis Hamikdash. You went ahead and you shechted it. What were you thinking? You're not going to be able to eat it. It's also ra'ana. It's owned by the Beis Hamikdash. So that shechita doesn't accomplish eating, and if it doesn't accomplish eating, then you don't have to cover its blood. As the Gemara, top of Pei Daled Amud Aleph, we're just going back a few words. V'lefrikinu v'lechasinu. So what if you shechted it illegally? Redeem it, and then go ahead and cover it. You can do kisei adam. Says the Gemara, Bi'inon ha'amoda v'haracha. You need to be able to, in order to redeem something from the Beis Hamikdash, you have to stand it up on its feet, and then you have to give it an appraisal. And guess what? Most of the time, when you kill an animal, it can't stand on its feet. So if it can't stand on its feet, you can't do an appraisal. End of story. You can't appraise it. If you can't appraise it, you can't redeem it, and you're stuck with an animal that you can't eat. So the Gemara says, Ukiman. Let me show you this very, very simple chart, but it makes the whole sugya so easy. There are two things that we're going to be discussing. Shchita she'eina ru'uya. If you shecht something and it doesn't accomplish that you could eat it, according to Reb Meir, it's green. What does green mean? It's still good shchita. According to Reb Shimon, I just explained before 2 minutes ago, according to Reb Shimon, it's red. If it doesn't accomplish eating, shchita she'eina ru'uya, it's red, it's no good. And then we just discussed hamada b'haracha. Hamada b'haracha means, do you need to stand it up on its feet and give it an appraisal? The Gemara says, yes, you need to give it an appraisal. Says the Gemara, wait a minute, we're talking about in what shita over here? The two things don't go together. It's either green and red or red and green. Nobody says red and red. You're telling me you need two things. You need that it's a shchita that's no good, and also you need to be able to appraise it. But if you're a mayor, you only hold one of those two things, and if you're a Shimon, you only hold one of those two things, the opposite. So what do? We don't have anybody that holds two reds. Iker Meir, Iker Meir, the Omar Kol Hoy B'Chlal Hamad V'Aracha. Hamar Shchita She'eina Ru'uya. Shma Shchita. If it's Meir who says that you must have an appraisal, he's the one that says that's okay if you have a shchita that doesn't accomplish eating. It's green. The whole answer of the Gemara is, the reason why we don't do kisei adam is because you did a shchita that you can't eat from it. But according to Meir, it's not a problem. So what if you can't eat from it? He still requires a kisei adam. Eikir Reb Shimon, and if you hold like Reb Shimon on the left side, he holds, in fact, that if you can't, that was the whole sugya. Remember, we had even a Mishnah that if it's a treifa, you find out it's a treifa, it's not considered a good shchita. There was a shita that said in Reb Shimon that when it comes to a carbon, there's never a shchita that's roy. In all karbanas, no shchita is roy, because you have to do zrikas adam right away. All sugya we had. So according to Reb Shimon, shchita she'eina ru'uya, red. But he holds, you don't need to do haracha, you don't need to do an appraisal. The Bedek habayis doesn't need. You don't need to. You don't need to do an appraisal, and therefore you could redeem it. If you can redeem it, why? What's the problem? Why can't you do kisi adam on an animal that was designated for bedek habayis, for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash? Says the Gemara. Check this out here. Now in the chart, it's super easy. Let me show you what we did here. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, the one who wrote the Mishnah, he basically picked and chose. He took one of each. So he has two reds. You're asking me, well, who's the Tana that holds two reds? It's Rebbe. He took one red from Reb Meir, one red from Reb Shimon, and boom, now he has two reds. He holds Shchita Sheina Ru'uya is not a Shchita, and he also holds Hamadara, and he's the one that wrote the Mishnah, and therefore he wrote in the Mishnah that when it comes to Bedek HaBayis, there's no Kisei Adam. Rabbi Yosef, it goes according to Rebbe, and he went according to the Tanoim. When it comes to Shechita, that's not, you can't eat from it, he holds like Reb Shimon, that's considered not a good Shechita. But when it comes to doing an appraisal, that you don't have to do an appraisal. That's why in the Mishnah, you don't need to do Kisei Adam. You could say the entire Mishnah goes like Reb Shimon. What's the question, Rabbi Yisai? Why don't you do Kisei Adam? Why don't you cover the blood of Kachim? You could go ahead and redeem it. Says the Gemara, no. Anytime you need another step, that's not good. You need to be able to cover the blood immediately without taking another step. V'shafach, you spill the blood. V'kisa, you cover it. That's because you don't have to do an additional step. But this kachim animal, you have to do this extra step of redeeming it after the shechita, before the kisei adam. Then it doesn't require kisei adam. Says Gemara, once you're saying this idea that you shouldn't have to do an extra step, yesterday we switched gears. We said we're not talking about a carbon, we're talking about an animal that belongs to the Bedek HaBayis, to the tzedakah portion of the Beis Hamikdash. No, Kachim Mizbeach, we could also say that's talking about Kachim Mizbeach, that's a regular carbon. Misha Einoi Mechusar El Shvicha V'Kisui, Yatzazesh Mechusar Shvicha Grira V'Kisui. So that's why we can't be talking about a carbon, because what was your question? You should be able to scrape it off like a Zaka person. Scrape off the blood and cover it. No, that's an extra step. Kisei Adam does not require any steps. After you do the shechita, you cover it. If you have to do an extra step of scraping, then you don't do Kisei Adam. And one more teretz before we get to the Agadata. Mar bar Rashi Omar Kro Chaya Oy Oif. It says in the pasuk that what requires Kisei Adam? A wild animal, a chaya like a deer, or a bird. Ma chaya eni kodesh, afoif eno kodesh. So here's where Rebbe knew to say that a bird cannot be a carbon because it's like a chaya, just like a chaya, which it says right together with the bird, and a chaya is never a carbon. So to a bird is not a carbon. There's no kisei adam by a carbon bird. So if so, chaya can never be a carbon. So a bird also. But since pigeons could be a carbon, maybe they shouldn't be chayev in kisei adam at all, ever, even when you are shechting it at home. Chicken, okay, but maybe pigeons you should never have to do kisei adam. Loi, kechaya, ma chaya loy chalakta ba. There's all wild animals are chayev in kisei adam. Afoif like loy tachlik boy. Don't make any distinctions in birds. There's no difference between a pigeon and not a pigeon. All birds are chayev in kisei adam, just like all chayes are chayev in kisei adam. And here starts the Agadata. Omar le Yaakov Mina'a l'Rava. So you know right away by his name that this is going to be a lot of fun. His name is Min. Min means a kaifer. He was starting out with Rava. Yaakov Mina, the heretic, was trying to find a hole in the Torah. He says, we know that it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that a deer has certain simanim. That you go by the Mafres Parsa, Malagera, it chews its cud, all that stuff. It doesn't say by a chaya, it only says, V'chol behema mafreses paris of zizah. We learn it from the behema. So he asks him, so maybe, if that's the case, all cows and all goats and sheep should require kisi adam, just like a chaya. If the Torah doesn't say that what the siman of a chaya is in order to eat it, then you're learning from a behema, so you should learn behema from a chaya. In fact, it's only because I know this from doing zichru, that on daf ayin aleph, daf, don't ask me questions, but that's how you remember these things. Daf ayin aleph, that's the daf that tells us, it wasn't so long ago, it was 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. That's the daf that tells us that there's a connection between a chaya and a behema and a chaya. That's one of the simanim that you learn on that daf. Anyway, so just like you learn a chaya from a behema for simanim, you should learn behema from a chaya that you should do kisadam. Omar Lei says, okay, interesting question. But there's a pasuk. Ala aretz tishbechenu kamayim. Here are the psukim. V'zovachtem b'charecha v'mitzoyincha asher nosan shem rak chazak levikid achol hadam hanofesh. It talks about the blood, and then it says lo techlan, you should not eat blood. Ala aretz tishbechenu kamayim. Now, is blood asur b'hana? When you have blood in a shlachtos, is it asur b'hana? Ma pitom. No way. So why does it say you should spill it on the floor? What's the difference where you put it? Why do you have to spill it on the floor? Sell it to a non-Jew. I don't know what. Why sell it to? I'm sure there's factories today that use the blood. They make fish food from it, all sorts of stuff. Food coloring. Okay. Yeah, really? Okay, something. I think they use it for fish food also. So they can use every part. Why do you have to spill it on the floor? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. Treat it like water. Just like you don't cover water with dirt, so you don't have to cover the blood of a behemoth. Says the Gemara, oh, you're telling me that blood of an animal is just like water? Imagine making a mikvah out of blood. You should be toivel, you should be able to be toivel in a mikvah made out of blood, and we know that that's not the case. No, you're right, it's a good question, but the Torah tells us only water. You're right, maybe it's the other liquids like juices, all the other liquids that don't work for mikvah. But maybe blood should work for mikvah. Why? Because the Torah compares it to water. Says the Gemara, okay, good question. This is not Yaakov Minah, this is the Gemara asking questions. There's in fact 2 psukim that tell us this. It says in the pasuk, Mayon Mayim, Ubar Mayim. One is to say that other liquids are not good for the mikvah, and one is to say that blood in specific is not good for a mikvah. Says Gemara, Eima idi limuti shar mashkim. But wait a minute, maybe within other liquids, there's 2 types of liquids. Chad limuti zoichalin, v'chad limuti mechunasin. Zoichalin means, and I'm going to show you a beautiful video that they did, mamish, top. If the halacha is as follows. If you have a mikvah, let me show you the picture first, then I'll show you the video. At least we'll use the picture before I show you the video. If you have a mikvah that has, how many saw does a mikvah have to have? 40 saw. So if you have a majority of the saw, you have 21, a majority of half, not majority of 50, you have 51% of the mikvah, 21 saw. And you go and you fill it up with zoichalin, you go fill it up with water, that's mayim shuvim, water from the sink. But it crawled, so to speak, on the floor. It's what? We call it zoichalin. It goes on a, they even do it today in mikvahs. They have like a pipe that's not horizontal, a horizontal pipe, horizontal like piece of concrete, and the water goes, float, and then goes into the mikvah. Just in case it's shuvim, so it goes like that. So this would be kosher for a mikvah. If it's the water, if you have more than 51% of make shamim in the bar, in the mikvah, I could get 19 saw out of sink water as long as it moves on the floor. I'm going to show you a video here. Let's just show it now. So I would think that with juice, let's say apple juice, you could also get it too. It's great. Look how beautiful this is, Shmuel. The Austria. It's showing you Zoichel in here. And it fills up the 40 so it's kosher. So I would think the same thing with apple juice, it should be kosher. That's why I need a pasuk to say no. So the Gemara is saying, who told you that one statement in the Torah is telling you juices are no good for the mikvah, and the other one is telling you blood? Maybe both are going for the juices, for the mashkim, but two halachas in the mashkim. One is telling you zoichalin, excuse me, is no good, and the other one is telling you and the other one is telling you stationary, it's there, or you could say the opposite. One is to tell you mechunasim, and one is to tell you zoichlin, which is a bigger chiluk. Okay, says Gemara, you're right. In fact, there's 3 limudim in the pasuk mayim mayim, which would tell us that it can't be zoichlin, it can't be moving water on the ground. Ubar mayim, which would tell us that mechunasim is no good, and mikveh mayim to tell us that blood is no good. So here's the question, Rabbi Isai. When are you allowed to eat meat? I'm not talking about the 9 days. It's mamish hashgacha pratis that we're in the 9 days talking about meat. But in general, on a Monday night, you want to eat a steak. Is it okay? Is there any concern at all? Are there any issues? So basically what the Gemara is going to go into is really what you could afford. It has to do with affordability more than anything. If somebody could afford it every night, so at the end of the day, you could eat it every night. Is there any issue with that? So we're going to see. Says the Gemara, Asher Yotzud, Einli El Asher Yotzud. It seems from the pasuk, if you're talking about the pasuk of Kisei Adam, it says, Vish Ish Mibnei Yisrael. He trapped, he hunted. Why is it talking about hunting? Only if you hunted it. How do you know you need Kisei Hadam if you already have it in your farm? Like ducks, geese, and chickens. It's a double lashon here in this pasuk. Yotzud Tzeid. So says the Gemara. So then why does the Torah go into hunting? You should always pretend that it was hard for you to get. So if you have a whole farm, you shouldn't just go and eat it. You should pretend it should be as if you had to go out and it was hard for you. Why? So Rashi right away explains, don't worry about it. Rashi explains that the issue is that you shouldn't become poor from it. Don't eat so much meat that it's going to make you poor. There are people that families that spend more than $100,000 a year on meat. You know families like that?
I personally don't know.
Yes, you do. I told you. You mean you wish you knew more? Okay, whatever. High numbers in meat. Don't become poor from the meat. The Torah gives us permission. It used to be that you couldn't eat meat unless you were bringing a carbon. That was in the midbar. But then the Torah tells us you're going to come into Eretz Yisrael, and then let's see the pasuk because it talks about basar taiva. I want to eat meat because you have the desire to eat it. You could eat as your heart desires. So says the Gemara. If you have a great desire, then you could go eat meat. Interesting. It almost seems like from this line that if a person is satiated, he ate a good dinner, he had a lot of pizza for dinner, and then he goes to his friend's house and he sees a good steak on the table, you shouldn't really eat it. It's when you have a big taiva for it, then you could eat it. I'm not passing, I'm just throwing out what the Gemara says at this point. Maybe you could go and just get it from the marketplace. You should take it from your own. In other words, you have it. Again, it's all within that same idea that it shouldn't make you poor. So you have it ready, so then you can go eat it. Maybe you should just shecht. You have one cow left. Shecht it up. The mem from what you have. Not all of it. I think she doesn't like to share. That's my. So now he says like this: if all you have to your bank account is 1 mana, you have 100. So what do you put in your pot? Vegetables. You're going to be eating vegetables, or boys goes by how much money you have. Asara mana. What if you have 1,000? You got lefasai litra dogim. Now you could already eat salmon. Now you're good. Chamishim mana. What if you have 5,000? You got lefasai litra basa. Now you can eat meat. In other words, meat is more expensive than fish. So you can put in your pot even meat. So it goes in. If you're not that wealthy, eat vegetables. If you're wealthy, eat fish. If you're super wealthy, then you could eat meat. We're concerned about you not losing your money. There's some very nice ideas here that Klal Yisrael really should take on. We'll see soon. Vinachemas. So these guys, Osari, Mea mana, if he has 100 mana, Yishbesu loy, if he has 10,000, 10,000, Yishbesu loy g'der b'chayim, he could eat meat every single day. Vinachemas, and there's other guys, these nebachs, the guys that only eat fish and they eat vegetables. Erev Shabbos, they should eat their fish only once a week. We should listen to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. It's not fair. Rav came from a very healthy family, strong people. If you should take whatever money you have and buy meat, you need it. You need the nutrition. If a person's like Rab, as strong as Rab, it's interesting that the Gemara says this. Stop throwing this out. Some G'daylim have superpowers. Not superpowers, but they're stronger than a regular person. Let's say, I know Rabbi Pessin from Ramat Bet Shemesh. He only sleeps 2 hours a night. He gives shiurim. When is it? When you stay up the whole night? Shmini Atzeres. He stands on his feet the entire night, gives a shiur 8 hours straight. So maybe other people could do it also. It's just he's a strong individual. He used to be able to dunk. He used to a very athletic kind of guy. So, and he's not super tall. He's 5'10", 5'11". Anyway, my point is, if a certain gadol could sleep a half hour at a time, like the Vilna Gaon or whatever, okay, so it doesn't mean that you should imitate. You have to have those koiches. And Rabbi Yochanan, I'm just saying, because the Gemara once said, I'm just saying now aloud, it could be I'm completely mistaken, but it says that Rabbi Yochanan was pretty strong, that he had 2 people that would hold him. And one time the steers broke and he kept on holding them. So they said, so what do you need us for? You're so strong. No, I need to leave it for when I'm older. So he wasn't a weakling. And he says over here, we're kind of weak. Rav is strong, but we should eat a lot of meat. We should spend our last dime to buy meat. You hear this? This could be Romanians' motto. Here, first of all, we have here somebody with a Romanian jacket. So this is a thing. Did you know that? Look at this. What's the back? The back is geschmack. Hold on. Romanian. Spend your last dime buying Romanian. That's what it says here. All he has left is 1 pruta left to his name in his bank account. You should buy meat with it. Worse than this. We're so weak. You should borrow money to buy meat. Not your less than go into debt for this. Shmulik is loving it. It's like the amount of shorts that you can make out of this Gemara. Says the Gemara, Kvasim lilvushecha. Now we're going to be darshaning these psukim. The sheep for your clothing. Migeis kfasim yem al b'shecha, from the wool of the sheep you should have clothing. Umechir sada atudim. La'olam yimkor adam sada v'ikech atudim. The Gemara is giving us real estate advice. I don't think it applies today, that you should always sell your real estate and buy sheep. So this is the opposite of what the Chazanish told my grandfather. And we blame my grandfather's chavrusa for this. The Chazanish told my grandfather to buy real estate in Bnei Brak with his Yerusha money. But his chavrusa said Chazanish he's very good in learning, but he's not very good in business. And we should buy a machine that hatches eggs. A matkira. So my grandfather listened to him, and he bought this giant machine back in the day with all his Yerusha money. And they put the eggs in, and out came little chicks. But then came a little bomb, a little missile from Syria, from what's on the border, Jordan, border of Yerushalayim, Jordan. A little missile came and blew it up. So they had no money left, nothing, and we still imagine if he would have bought like one property, two little properties in Bnei Brak it was dead. It was just the Chazanish and a few Hasidim. He said, buy over here in Bnei Brak some real estate. The Stefansky would be sitting pretty today. Instead, they had a machine once upon a time that said, but the Gemara says that's what you should do. Don't buy real estate, buy sheep, buy livestock. So, sell your real estate. You should never sell your sheep and buy real estate. You should have parasa from the milk. Imagine you could live today like I don't even know the numbers. I just started hearing now from my son. He's like, if you make less than $200,000 and you're from family, you're like a pauper. Between all the tuition and the meta and the weddings and forget the weddings.
Maybe real estate that generates income is considered a two.
Trying to be lamed schus because it generates income. Yeah, but what were fields doing? They were also generating. Sell corn. Okay? Yeah. To have some passive income. Akol Ponem, he says, don't shecht your goats, but milk them. Just keep on milking them so you have income. Listen to this. Your bread comes before those of your children. Reminds me, when you're on the plane, they tell you first put on your mask, then your children's mask. And what's the pshat? Because what good are you? And you're trying to fumble, put the mask on, and then you lose consciousness, and then your son can't do it, and you're gone. So then what happened? First, put your own mask on, and then you can help your kid. Your kid can't help himself. He's not going to know how to do it. He's too young. First, take care of yourself. Make sure that you're in good shape. You're in good shape, then you can help your child. There are women that watch this year. I always hear from here and there. It's super interesting when Hasidic women watch the shir together with their husbands. Not and Hasidim come over to me all the time. My wife watches the shir. She's better than me. She watches every day. Okay, the whole thing. So I'm not talking to the women. I'm talking to the men. Really, that this is an old yesod that women especially, men too, but women especially, they have to take care of themselves. So they're so involved sometimes with the children that they don't give themselves a break, and then they break. Like it's better for them to relax once in a while, to take a vacation, to enjoy themselves, to go out with friends, and then they could give more to the children rather than just going nonstop, and then they break down, and nobody gains here. That's what the Gemara is saying. That first take care of yourself. And there's another vart that I got to tell you. I said this once. I'm going to say it again. That I think that we're in this a little today, especially in our generation. what are we doing? We're making more and more money for what? So we say, well, I want to help my children. I want to help them, and I need to get them a house. And then your child goes and he works. And what? Why is he working? Because he wants to help his children. Wouldn't it be good if everybody just took care of themselves? Like it's a mitzvah. It's nice to help your kids. But that's why we lose our health, and that's why we lose our olam haba. We forget about why we came here, and we're working and working for what? I'm talking about. There are people that work just to put bread on the table. I get it, but those people that already have a lot and they're working more and more and more. But why? Chill, relax, give a little bit to your kids. It's great. It's gewaldic, but you really need to make them millions and millions. That's why you're working mishuggah. You know what I'm saying? There's a balance here. You have to give for yourself. Your Gan Eden is more important than them having, $100 million when you go bye-bye. It's you. You have to take care of yourself. And don't take this out of context. I didn't say don't help your kids and don't do it. I'm saying there's a limit, I don't want to be the Musar guy. The first thing that came to my mind is like when people take their kids to Kiddush and they're like 14 years old and they're pouring them l'chaims. You're teaching them how to drink liquor. It's a big thing here in America. These young teenagers, they drink more than the adults. So Derech Eretz is don't teach your son how to drink wine and eat meat. If you want to become very wealthy, so Taisus right away asked the question over here. It's a small Taisus. Where is it? Did I not put it in? I guess I didn't put it in. I was in the middle of putting it in. Okay, great. We can read it together. Bim Toimar, the top Taisus. The famous Gemara that says that you don't have atzlacha when you work with small animals. I remember also there was another concern that your animal is going to go steal, but Tais doesn't say that. Maybe I'm completely off. But he says it's Ein Hara, people see it. You have these animals in a place where nobody sees them, then that's the big zgula of making money. These animals can make you very wealthy. There are people, I once spoke about it, the people that have those big ranches, they're worth billions of dollars, literally. Because every one of these animals is worth thousands of dollars and they have hundreds of, okay. First of all, I want to show you this. I thought it's very chashuv. They have special, this is for people that make siyumim in restaurants during the 9 days. So those people, they have special ash boards. There's different ashes, different types for today. It's only $85. There's deep ash, rich, smoky, deeply reflective. There's extra ashy. There's traditional, all sorts. That's one thing that I found. There's another one also. If you need a special Tisha B'Av milk crate, they sell them for $150. This is there's a lot of good stuff going around. You could get a lot of stuff today.
There's a sign in Chullin that if Mashiach comes today, they're not getting a refund on the chairs and one chair. They're selling now.
Yeah. There's no refunds. Oh, so says the Gemara. If you have the option of drinking a cup of something from a witch, you should drink from the witch and not from a cup that's warm. You hear this? You have two options. So we have a video of it. I'm going to show you the video at the end. But that's when you're drinking out of metal. But if you're drinking out of earthenware, it's not a problem. In other words, the Gemara understands that drinking warm water is very dangerous for the body. It's only when you don't put in the different spices. But if you put the spices in, it's not a problem. Says when you didn't boil it up. Okay, here's the video, Rabbi Yisai. Don't drink from the witch water, only from the. No, it's better to drink from witch water than from warm water. But if you have spices, then it's okay. So, Vomer Rabbi Yochanan. Listen to this, Rabbi Yisai. This is important. This is neged to a lot of people. This applies to sport, to athletes that make a lot of money suddenly, people that win the lottery, and people that inherit a lot of money. It's always an issue, and you see, go do some research. The people that win lotteries, most of the time, they lose all their money in a very, very short amount of time. And the Gemara tells you how to do it. If you want to haroit to la'abid, meaning if you want to be a shaita and not take care of your finances, this is what you do. Yilbash klei pishtan. Right away, go out and buy custom-made suits. You should use. So if you inherit a small fortune, what do? Wear all these very, very expensive designer clothing. Oh, you should buy these beautiful watches, these glass kalim. Hire a lot of workers. Let's say you're doing a renovation in a place. Don't come check up on them. Let them do their own thing. Says Gemara, so check this out, Rabbi Yisai, this video. This is a guy, this is especially for the Israelis. This is Elia Turjuman. He's part of the Shir, and he's he does all the work in my house. He's a great guy. So the Gemara says you should hire workers and don't follow them. And typically in Eretz Yisrael, these cousins of ours, they do crazy, terrible work, especially when you're not watching them. So here it is.
יאללה נדיב, אני עולה ללמוד, תסיימו פה את העבודה, דברו איתי.
معنا لو دي وحمد بيه الله
لا فيش حاجة اللي بربيش ولا قمين خلصنوش أنين البلاستيك هذا ممتاز.
There's so many horror stories of people that bought apartments in Israel. So what they do is they intentionally sabotage their work. So they'll pour cement in your plumbing. But so it goes in, like after a few weeks, all of a sudden things, and you don't know what. You put a camera there, you see the cement down there. All sorts of stuff they do with the wiring. The people found that they write their names like under in certain places. They say, "We'll be back. This is going to be ours." Stuff like that. So you got to be careful. So says the Gemara, "Yilbash klei pishton." What does it mean that you're going to wear this cotton clothing? B'kitana rumiyasa, very expensive Roman clothing. What does it mean you're going to use glassware, bezugiso chivarta, white. Here we even have let's take a video of that too.
Grandpa, how did you make your fortune?
Wow, that is a very long story.
Chazal taught us a powerful secret. Sell your land to buy a flock of sheep. A field just sits there, but a flock grows and multiplies. You use their wool for your clothes and their milk to nourish your home. But the golden rule? No shchita. Nurture what you have, and it will sustain you. Those who chase fragile luxuries, their wealth eventually shatters like glass. Remember this, my boy. Build something that truly lasts.
Goodbye, Dad. We need to go.
Okay. Don't drive a glass car. It's when it's white. And when you hire workers and you're not with them. But this is referring to with bulls, the nafesh p'sedayu, you can lose a lot of money. Sometimes you say it in the name of Rabami, sometimes in the name of Rabasi. Toivish choinenu malva. Yechalkel dvarav b'mishpat. I don't know, it just says over here in my Gemara that I wrote down 7.5 years ago, Wolfson. I just noticed it now. Maybe I said the Maisa then, and I'm trying to think what Maisa. There was a guy that needed like an appointment with some special doctor, a specialist, and he lived in Lakewood. And they asked Wolfson if he could intervene and get him a quicker appointment. So he said, fine. So he got the appointment, and he had the guy, like I think he flew him in a helicopter or something, but he himself took the subway, something like that. Like when it came to tzedakah, giving somebody else, I don't know why I wrote the story here. One of the stories about Wolfson. Toivish choinu malva. I have to look. Maybe if I look up the shir and Daf Pedal on the base, I'll know what it is. Toivish choinu malva. Yichalkel dvar b'mishpat. That what? Lo olam yoichal adam b'yishte pachis memashi yeshloi. A person should live under his means. It's a big, today in Klal Yisrael, it's a big disease, it's a big krankheit that people live above their means. Why? Because you always have to, you're living for the other guy. You're not living for yourself so much. So you live above your means. You're buying the newer car, you're buying the nicer house. It's always above the means. Less than what he could afford. But he should, when it comes to keeping your body safe from the elements, then you should buy clothing that exactly what you could afford. So there's three categories here. It's living below your means, but for clothing with your means, and for your wife and your children above. Don't let them know this. Don't ever tell your wife and your kids about this Gemara, but that's what it says over here. You should give your wife and children more than your means. Why? Shehein tluim boi, because they are dependent on you. V'hu, but the father, the husband, v'hu tali b'mi shamar b'hoya ha'olam. You are dependent on the Rebbeinu Shleilam. So don't worry about it. First take care of them. If you take care of them, you give them more than what they need, Hashem will pay you back. Dorish Raveino, apischa de beireish gelusa. So here we go. Raveina stood there by the doorway of the Rish Golos, and he said a drasha. He said, "Hashoichet lechoyle b'Shabbos chayv lechasois." Listen to this. On Shabbos, to do kisi adam, we said is a problem. Why is it a problem? It's a chil Shabbos. But if you have to shecht anyway on Shabbos, why? Because you have a sick person. So then you're permitted to do the kisi adam. Amalu Rabba. What he said is something that doesn't make any sense. There's two pshatim here. I like the gentler one, and that is he doesn't deserve to have somebody speak for him and make, to be the Tana, to say it loudly. When he speaks softly, somebody says it loudly. How could he say something like this? That on Shabbos you should do Kisi Adam? The Sanya Rabbi Yossi Omer Koi Ein Shofta Noisa B'Yom. Rabbi Yossi says, we learned that a Koi, that's an animal, that the mother or the father is a Chaya, and the mother is a Behema. It's a combination of a Chaya Behema, and we have a suffix what it is. And if you went ahead and you shechted, do not cover its blood. And he says Rabbi Yossi Kal V'Chomer. This is Rabbi Yossi's Kal V'Chomer. So pay attention, remember this. What's the Kal V'Chomer? If you have a mila that the kid was definitely born on Shabbos, that is bris milah on Shabbos. But when you have a suffix when this kid was born, whether he was born before Yontif or after Yontif, in other words, he's born on a day, Beresh Moshes, where it come out that his bris milah is on Yontif or maybe not on Yontif. I don't know. So what do? You don't do a bris milah. You hear? No. A vadai is doiche Shabbos. A suffix is not doiche Yontif. In other words, if you know for sure that the baby was born on a Shabbos, so you do a bris milah on Shabbos. That we know. That's vadai. But if a baby is born 7 days before Yontif, but by Ben Hashmashas, and I don't know if he was born where the bris milah should be on Yontif, or maybe the bris milah should be after Yontif. That's a suffix. So you don't do a bris milah on Yontif. So how in the world, says Rabbi Yossi, here, Rabbi Yossi is the one that says that a koi, if you shecht a kvi or a koi on Yontif, you don't do kisi adam. And he says a kavachomer. That what? If Mila, that pushes off Shabbos when you know for sure. But when you don't know for sure, it doesn't even push off Yontif. Kisui. She'ein vadoi doiche Shabbos. So these are the words that we're looking for. What does it say? Kisi adam, when you know for a fact that you should do kisi adam, does not push off Shabbos. So how come Rav Eino said at the entrance of the Reish Golos that when you shecht an animal on Shabbos because you're supposed to, because it's pikuach nefesh, then you should do kisi adam. When it says specifically here, vadoi is not pushing off Shabbos. She'ein vadoi doiche Shabbos. So certainly a kvi, a koi that was shechted on Yontif, you shouldn't push it off. It's a question on Ravena, and that's why you should either cut out his tongue, as one of the pshatim in Rashi is, or take away his speaker. I'll call upon him. So he said, no, but I have a raya from Tkiyah Shofar outside the Beis HaMikdash. What's the problem with Tkiyah Shofar outside the Beis HaMikdash? We don't blow shofar on Shabbos outside the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because maybe you'll go and schlep the. It happened to me. I had to blow shofar one time during Corona, on Rosh Hashanah, obviously. And I was just notified on Rosh Hashanah after Ma'ariv. So I went and I asked Menachem Ateh, who's the professional Baltikeh in our neighborhood, and I asked him to tell me the halachas, a regular achas. He said, here, I need to blow shofar, tell me what to do. He started telling me Neshima achas. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know how to blow. No, you got to do it one shot, but the whole thing. So if there was no Eruv, I would maybe take the shofar to his house, and so that's the concern that people are going to carry on Shabbos. So she'ein vada doiche Shabbos. If you know for a fact that today is Rosh Hashanah and happens to be Shabbos, you don't blow shofar on Shabbos. Usveika, and we're going to see what that means. It basically means that if you're not sure if this person is a woman or a man, doiche Yontif, you should blow on Yontif. So your kavachomer is not a good kavachomer, because sometimes you see that a vadai pushes off Shabbos, and a suffix also does. And Rabbi Lazar said an answer to the kavachomer. Rabbi Yossi, we're going to finish in 2 minutes because I gotta say another shir here before Chatzais. You know what? Mila has a very weak thing about it. You don't do a Mila at night. Here it says, Ubayoyim hashmini, only during the day you do Mila. Maybe you can't bring a kavachomer from Mila to Kisi Adam because Kisi Adam has something that's more chamor than Mila. You could do Kisi Adam at night. This kavachomer Rabbi Yossi, I had no answer to it. And Rabbi Lazar had a great answer. Says the Gemara. Now the Gemara just finishes its question. It says mefurish that Kisi Adam, you should not do Kisi Adam when it's certain that you do it. In other words, my vadoy the Kisi Shabbos, lava sheichel l'chayil b'Shabbos. Isn't it talking about our case that you have a chayla, so you shecht it on Shabbos, but you shouldn't do Kisi Adam on Shabbos? So the Gemara, who told you maybe it's talking about that he just didn't listen and he shechted on Shabbos. And therefore, you should maybe do Kisi Adam. Do me the Mila. No, it should be similar to Mila. Now what? 40 people live on YouTube. Shalom Aleichem, a guten Erev Tisha B'Av. Oh, and Motzei Tisha B'Av, by the way, about 10:30 here, 10:45. Okay, I hope to make it. Because it's not just a regular Motzei. I also have to eat and also prepare and learn, and it's a disaster. Okay. Do me the Mila, mal Mila b'shus, af Kisi na b'shus. No, it's talking about like Mila. Mila is optional. In other words, it's not. It's not what? B'shus, not an isser. Okay. Kisinami b'shus. It's not that you're over and you did it. Mila means you're not over. You have to do it. You should do it. So Kisi also, not that you went ahead and you shechted without permission. You know what? So we'll stop over here. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day, a meaningful fast, and Be'ez Hashem, we should see the Binyan Beis Hamikdash b'mehera.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.